All right, everybody, good afternoon. We're working on getting our slideshow going for today. All right, as we all know, today is the day. We are discussing Gangs of New York at long last. To start, I'm going to have everyone clear off their tables. You will not need your iPads today. You will not need phones, of course. Headphones should be out of your ears. And then you're going to come on over to near Javier here and grab one piece of chart paper per table. So designate one person, come on up, grab some chart paper. Thank you.
Come on up.
Thank you.
Hi, Jim. Hope you don't mind.
Got one for you.
I don't have anything to do with this period, so I'm like, hello.
How you doing?
Hey, Jim.
Great. Okay. Thanks for doing that. Thank you. Oh, really quick. If anyone has eyes on me, please. Voices down. Gentlemen, Ezra. Thank you. If anyone has those yellow sheets, I need them by the end of class today or tomorrow. Ideally as soon as possible. Could you bring one to the corner table as well?
You already got one.
Please. Oh, never mind. Are any tables missing one? Right here. Faith, you need one? There we are. Javier, will you join a table with us today?
I think I'm going to join her after one.
Perfect. Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to get started here. Eyes on me on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1, and 0. Thank you very much. So today we are going to be mind mapping those concepts we pulled from the movie, how they influence the factors we found on the graphic organizer. So what does that mean? I would like you to create something that looks kind of like this, where your central question is in the middle. That branches out into our factors, right? We're just following the graphic organizer. And then that will move into any sub-factors you find. So in the middle, we have our central question that was on top of that graphic organizer. I can pull that out for you. If anyone has that with them, they can pull that out. Hopefully, most of us do, right? Looks like this. Graphic organizer. Should have had it for the last 4 days in class. You're good. I totally understand. But I do want you to work with your table today, okay? Need one? Here you are. Okay. Does anyone not have their graphic organizer with them today? Over here. Okay. So, our central question, how and why do social groups come into conflict? That is what will be in the middle of your mind map. It says CQ up there, just stands for central question. Here we are. Branching off of that, we have our 4 factors. They're labeled F1, F2, F3, F4. That would be law and order, economy and jobs, violence and groups. Those will go in the middle of those circles. And then branching off of them will be any sub-factors, things that sort of interacted together, for example. You see those lines going towards each other? Those are the ways we feel like maybe some of these factors are related. Do they interact with each other? For example, the economy is pretty well tied to how the law works, and vice versa. So, to recap, what goes in the middle? Paul? Excellent. Antonio, what goes in the outside bubbles? The factors, all right? So the factors from your graphic organizer: groups, economy and jobs, violence, and law and order. Inside of those bubbles or near them, again, this is just an example. You can use whatever shapes you want, use whatever colors you want. This is a chance to express yourself on this chart paper a little bit. I want you to work with your tables to basically throw what we had on our graphic organizers into these slots, into these sections. We're going to take probably 10 to 15 minutes to do this. I encourage you to write clearly if you can. If not, your handwriting's like me. I get it, no worries. But we're trying to map out our concepts, map out our thinking, and really we're just pulling from that graphic organizer, right? So it's a big help if we have that with us today. Hopefully we do. I'll be walking around. If we have any questions, I will, do we have any questions? Or is it pretty clear what we're doing? Yes, Ms. Water. I'm sorry? Oh, yes. You have some markers at your tables, but mostly there's a number of them back here in many, many pretty colors and smells. So if we need more markers, come see me. You'll probably need some at least. Maybe one person from your table can come grab one.
Because those are highlighters, you can't really see when you're writing highlighters.
That's an excellent point. Thank you, Ms. Bonner. So come get markers from me. Start mapping your concepts. And be sure to discuss with each other. Right after this, we're going to move into our Socratic Seminar. So these ideas are going to want to be fresh. Come find markers. Take what you want. Get rid of it.
That's surprising.
You have options.
Can I go for mapping content?
Yes, you may. Go ahead, take as many as you like. There's lots of them. Many, many markers. How you doing, Jace? How's that hand? Stings. Okay. Hi, Sheila. How are you? Ooh, that shouldn't be in there. Yeah, no. If it's dry erase, we don't want to use that on paper. Okay. All right, everybody. Now the focus of today is talking to each other. If we don't feel comfortable doing that, we'll get there in a second. But for the most part, really encourage talking to each other. Yes? The central question is the one that we found in our organizer. How and why do social groups come into conflict? Here, you can hold on to that. You should have one,
No,
right?
yeah, I
Okay.
do.
All right, folks, it's going to involve working together a little bit, so maybe we can get that central question down at least. Here, there are many colors. Who feels like they have the best handwriting? Or the worst? That can make it more fun, right? Or maybe a favorite color. There's quite a few in there.
Did you guys finish this yesterday in class?
I'm sorry?
Did you guys finish this yesterday in class?
Yes, we did, and we've been working on it while we've been watching the movie as well. So I'll go over alternative that we can cover in a second. I know you missed a couple days in there, but I do encourage you to listen as we discuss today, because part of that alternative assignment is responding to each other. So for now, if you would like, go ahead and just throw that central question in the middle, and then the factors near it. And then as we're working, discussing today, you can sort of fill in underneath. We can do so at the table. Hello.
Do we have to do both questions?
Essentially just the first one. The second is like a continuation, trying to get you to think a little bit deeper about populations, but just the first one in the middle will be just fine. No problem? Yes.
So are we writing in the outside things that are connecting? So like writing in those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, those shapes are really just a guide. This is an example. It can look how you might want it to, but the factors connect to that central question.
Can you explain the sub-factors? What do you mean by sub-factors?
Okay, so economy and jobs, for example. What sort of things went into how the economy was shaped? Or went into how law and order was carried out?
Okay.
The political machines from Tammany Hall, for example. Did that make sense? Okay. And definitely think about connections between your factors.
I'll do economy. So you get group.
How's it looking, gents?
Oh, I'll do group seven.
Excellent. I like that. Right on. Do you guys have some markers? We want some color in there, don't we?
It's good.
Make it pretty.
It's good to sketch it first before.
I like it. All right. Make it colorful. The colors are good. How's it going, folks? Making it happen? Awesome.
What is that?
What's up? This here? This is a microphone.
Yeah, my family health teacher has one.
Oh, really? Hi. How can I help?
No, that makes sense.
So you're this.
So, okay.
Yeah, your central question is basically just this first half. That's the second half here is like a continuation, getting you to think a little bit deeper. Were you here with us for the movie?
Yeah.
Did you have a graphic organizer that you were filling out as we were watching?
Yeah.
So it's basically pulling from that, right?
But Mr. Do we have to do the circles?
Yeah, do we have to write this?
Absolutely not. No, you can have whatever
So
shapes
we
you may
write
like.
this in the middle, and then the arrow sticking out is this.
Absolutely. And then you'll bullet point. Okay.
So start with the top.
You sort of bullet point underneath that.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Girl. No, I'm waiting on you to go forever.
Be nice up here. Oop, pardon me,
To
sorry.
build a mind map out of the observations gathered and exact coordinates of my son.
Are things making sense a little bit?
So in like the circle, we write down what we go down.
How you doing, Marcus? I don't know if we met yet. Mr. Pletcher.
Tired. What's up?
I'll be a student teacher, and I'll be here for a good while. Hopefully we can become friends. Or not. I don't know. Hi. What's up, babe?
He wasn't even here to watch.
So we are mapping the observations we made here into something that looks kind of like that. It doesn't have to look exactly like that. You can use different shapes, different colors, whatever you may like. But you start with that central question in the middle, right? And that central question being, how and why do social groups come into conflict? Then you branch out from that middle point, addressing each of these factors: law and order, violence, economy. And those can just be bullet points underneath each section. Did that help a little bit? Awesome.
But yeah, you do like these two, and then he does those two.
There's a reason he won an acting award for it.
Did he get Best Actor?
Not for that one. He got it for Our Will Be Blood.
Oh, absolutely.
Which he basically played a similar character.
Oh yeah, more or less the same.
Do you guys know what you're doing here? So, big bubble.
How's it going, y'all? Sorting out a little bit. Yes.
You already knows what goes in the center.
Is there a black? You didn't find a black one?
Probably.
And then from that big bubble, you jump out and you kind of like answer some of your other questions, and then you can kind of answer like.
I think all of the black markers have been taken, unfortunately.
You guys remember this fairly well? I've seen it a bunch of times.
One thing that could help as you guys are sketching is having your graphic organizers out too, because that's where we were jotting down all our observations. Hopefully. I surely hope so.
Well, if you have questions, I can help.
Sharpies work too, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
Okay, so the law and order.
Yeah.
By the way, they may have been born.
Whoa. Digging it. Nice.
They're just immigrants that have been here.
We had pretty solid observations all throughout at this table, right?
My brain's just not.
It's all right. We're waking up, we're falling asleep at the same time.
Yeah.
Almost time to get out of here, right? I get it. Yeah, the crate is right over there next to it. For the first half, okay.
So I don't have much, but I do have something.
Okay, absolutely. Then in that case, once it comes time for discussion, it's going to be a lot of listening, contributing where we can, and then thinking about modern links as well. Great looking sub factors too. I like that.
Yeah. So those are like maybe you could like write down one of the groups and then kind of like.
How's it going, y'all? Looking good so far.
Yeah.
So one thing you can do too, you can fit everything you can inside the circles, but you can also just put a bullet point in the area. You can just sort of make bullet points outside the circles. They don't all have to fit in there. You can also do subfactors in whatever shape you want, and that's if you find them. Yeah? They definitely are there, but might be hiding
Maybe
from
another
you.
thing is it happens in a couple different lines, so how do both groups
Yes,
react
Marcus.
to Americans?
I'm coming. Hold on.
At the third group, they're in the background, so very many lines.
Like for when they challenge each other.
Yes. Okay, what's going on?
I don't remember your name.
Law and Order
Mr.
for
Fletcher.
Factor 1.
Mr.
Like
Fletcher.
Law and Order lecture. He said that. What was it called? What did you say to him?
I said one of the laws was the draft in the back.
Can we put that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We told you, bro.
The Conscription Act.
I was
yeah.
thinking because of the fight over native land, Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery.
Mhm.
Is that another one?
Yeah, the Civil War is going on at the same time.
Okay.
It also could be valid inside violence as well, right? War is a very violent example.
Oh, and Abraham Lincoln's his name?
Oh my gosh.
I wonder how that got there.
Just
Okay, so what do I say?
the native thing and then the
Well, he was inside, right? So,
Probably had to take his hat
a lot of people didn't wear hats inside, especially at that time. So probably not.
the draft got started.
I kind of picture it though, a gigantic hat with a hole in the middle of it.
Because of the Civil War.
Sorry.
The draft got started.
This is how there's just a big hole down
Literally. Yeah. And is it too soon to make jokes about Lincoln? I don't know. Probably not.
Wasn't that like, how long ago? Like,
1863, President Lincoln was assassinated. The movie we watched took place in 1862.
that's like
Let's see, math.
trying not to.
160-ish years ago, right? Exactly 160. Yeah. I think he was assassinated in April, maybe.
Just
May.
put that as a comment.
The draft started.
Because of the Civil War.
The what? Heard that. What are you talking about?
Just no. Or am I tripping? I know. All I know in the movie is that it showed the Twin Towers.
At the very end, yes, it did. Modern day New York as of 2001-ish. Yes, they did.
So what's the next thing you're writing?
What's the next one you're doing?
No, wait, can I write my part?
How's it going, folks? How's it going?
Good.
Awesome. We probably got another 5 minutes or so. Yes. Well,
And I forgot what I wrote.
it's been about 20 minutes, so hopefully we were able to
No,
get some.
Mr. B, don't say that.
It has.
Wait, we got these?
We're not presenting them per se, but we will need them for our next phase class. Or at least need things from our graphic organizer as we discuss those discussion questions. Let's move forward. So perhaps these two tables could join forces, maybe? You can also create your own still, but do your best. And I knew you were paying attention the whole time, too. You seem very interested in the film. It's a good one.
I was a little bit worried.
Said what?
It was
I
boring
understand.
to me because I barely understood it. So I didn't know some words.
I can totally understand that. One thing we can do to, like going forward, as we share class together, is maybe we can look at words that we know we don't understand. We can talk about them together. You can always ask me if something is moving too fast, too loud, for example. I definitely want to help, and I will. For sure. Of course.
Yeah. And then you know what you're writing.
They fought to see who. They fought to.
All right. Hopefully, at this point,
They fought to be the main.
we have all of our main factors down. We're bullet pointing a little bit. You have outstanding handwriting. Hold on. Mine is awful, so it's always impressive to see something that looks good.
That's like violence. The group should be naming them.
Oh, you can also name them. Because white people had more power than black. They had more power.
Those are the cannon. Yeah, those are the cannon.
All right, everyone. Right around 150, we're gonna go grab a piece of information from each table for each factor. We're gonna do so in a very rapid-fire way. And be ready. You can rapidly go home in a rapid 48 minutes. So,
I said that was quick math.
Okay, so the natives killed.
hello. Back for more color.
No, put my back.
You guys suck.
Oh, this is the best looking
Too bad on that.
Be nice about it, though. Seems subjective. Bless you, I think.
Meaning what?
Because they were all
The sub-factors, right, those are just things maybe we observed, like what sort of made the economy turn, what was contributing to the law and order we saw. Like that Tammany Hall political machine, right, the recruitment of immigrants as soon as they were arriving.
We can put, okay.
That could influence other stuff. And I also want you thinking of how these factors influenced each other.
Okay.
No, I'm not writing it.
Go.
You're writing it.
There were two different.
Since y'all need me.
What's the sub factor?
I'm not writing it now.
Can you just please?
Yeah, it's somebody.
That's right.
What's the sub factor?
But he wasn't really he had different groups. He was like.
We being too rowdy. Okay.
So now you could put the native guy.
All right, everyone, we're going to be coming together in about a minute.
The word poopy was all I said when he
Welcome back.
That's goal.
Whoa.
Gangs of in New York. See, it's the boat and it's sinking. I missed the part. I don't know if it sank or not.
Which
Then
boat?
a smiley face.
Which boat are we talking about?
The one that was shooting the cannon.
There were several ships, but
The one that was
Did any of them sink? I just,
like the USS Independence, I believe it was, that was firing from New York Harbor,
Yeah.
did not sink.
No.
I just jokingly did that.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, we're going with it. And I said, sinking.
Maybe you could like put that next to the economy section. The economy's sinking or something.
Yeah, see, it's next to the economy. No, see, it's next to the economy.
All right, everybody, eyes on me in 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay, how'd it go? Were we able to apply a lot of what we observed to these factors? Hopefully. Yeah.
Good, very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, if we still, all right, voices off, pretty please, while we're doing instruction, really quick. We will be sharing out from each table quickly one thing from each factor. So if we have some blank spots still, this is a great time to fill in and also start to get the wheels turning on what we'll be doing next, which is a group discussion with everybody. We all get to talk to each other. So this table, something from each factor, just go down your graphic organizer, one observation.
Okay, so for groups, I said discrimination against immigrants leads to lots dead as an immigrant-wise.
Okay.
Which is just like, I don't know. I knew we put it in the group, I just didn't know really how. Because it's just like it kind of just
Still valid.
creates like divide in the population. so they like
Excellent.
hate each other type thing.
Yeah.
Even though
Deeply sown divisions. Okay, next. And we're going to go really rapid, so real quick
Okay.
observations. You're good. You're good. We will be discussing at length and very soon.
With economy, I talked about how a lot of the money that was flowing around was through crime.
Okay. Well done.
For violence, I said that people would fight over control of territories, like how the natives and dead rabbits fought over 5 points.
Indeed. Yes, they did.
For law and order, I said social groups can struggle to coexist peacefully without proper law and order.
Okay. A struggle to coexist without proper law and order. Agreed. Yeah, that makes it much more difficult. How about over here? Let's go one from law and order.
I'm writing. Sorry.
What we wrote on
Thank you.
politics can impact the city development and population growth by controlling which groups ideas share law and order. Shape law and order.
Very astute observation. So whoever is in power is writing the laws, enforcing them. Excellent. How about over here for economy and jobs? What did we find?
You said money mainly came from violence.
Money coming from violence. A lot of theft, right? All of these street gangs stealing one way or another. How about over here, Javier? What did we find for violence, for example?
For violence, we said that he would kill whoever got in his way or tried to overstep.
Ruthless. Absolutely. So violence as a means of enforcing your own will, political will. Absolutely. And how about over here at the back, Mr. Morrell's table for groups? Ezra, what do you got? Yes.
Dead rabbits came and fought natives for the land.
To hold control over the 5 Points neighborhood. Yes, they did. All right. Now, our next section, first of all, we're going to hold on to these, and we are going to keep working on them if we have time at the end. But I do want them to get filled out because it's sort of a product of all of your work so far. You guys paid a lot of careful attention during your observations and during the film, so hopefully we have a chance to fill these out a little more. Up next, we all get to move around a bunch and move a bunch of things. So we are going to clear off these tables in the front here. Right, Ms. Bonner?
So yeah, really quick, listen up, you guys. To make this quick, if we have Junie's table right here, the table that is running with the whiteboard, that's parallel to the whiteboard, we keep it that way. We're going to swing Junie's table and Paul's table. Okay, Tiana, your table right's going to butt up against the other table. We're going to swing those two tables, and then those two tables would match up. Does that make sense? We're just moving these front three tables to make one long line this way. Make sense? My front tables, we get it? Okay, your tables are all going to be facing the direction that Tiana's table is facing. We're going to make two long lines. Does that help?
Just scoot everything.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, like so. This will go that way, that'll go this way. Only ones that move are these.
You can just put the caddies in the middle of the table.
Yep, caddies can come to the middle, your bags can come to the edges of the classroom if you're in these front tables.
Okay, ready? And so Tiana, you move your table to Paul, right? There you go. Yep. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to swing those other four tables.
It's like one long table?
Make it one long table.
Yes, I will. Not right at this moment. Perfect. When you say swing, Miss Vaughn, are we talking parallel to each other now?
Nope.
Okay.
Just like they're doing. Okay, so Tiana, move that table down to yours. Parallel to yours. Okay. Okay, just move that table in.
There.
Okay, then, yeah, face, you guys are going to move your two tables.
It's like the Last Supper.
All right. The quicker we move through, the more time we'll have to discuss.
All right, so then we can probably bring Jordan and Netta's tables. You guys bring those up there in the very end.
Oh wait, I gotta move this.
And then we're all going to change our chairs and squeeze around.
Let me move this.
All right, and that's everybody. Get in tight. We're all friends here. All right, you may bring your. Awesome. All right, you may bring your graphic organizers with you, but you shouldn't need much else. We're going to be focusing on talking to each other more than taking notes or anything like that.
You guys gotta give Mr. P a spot.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
I'm the Jesus.
Yes.
I'm really sorry to tell you, but you're not.
You're not Jesus. I'm sorry.
Oh, is this you?
Ratio plus you're
I
not
do need to
Jesus.
sit somewhere in the middle, unfortunately.
Right where you're at.
Right here.
Is that one right there?
So,
really is the last
Nathaniel, you and I are just going to be real close friends for the next half hour or so,
Judas.
right?
You know what? You can be Judas.
Okay, we got Drew on the back end over there.
All right. Do not be afraid to get close to each other.
We got
It's going to be all right.
They're gonna bite me.
They might. We'll be okay. I think I got one spot here if you want to fit in
I
here.
forgot to do the question.
We could probably scoot down this way, maybe? What do you think? Can we fit?
I imagine if everyone scooted down like literally like 2 inches down.
All right, let's scoot this line down just a little bit, Jason. Scoot just a little. And we'll scoot this down. And Brandon, if you would scoot, and you as well. Okay, just a little bit more. Perfect.
This is like dead silent.
Okay, we're here.
Ezra.
This is a group grade, so
Come here,
no
so you're
one
actually
talks
at the
to take
table.
my grade.
Okay, so show of hands, who here has done a Socratic Seminar before? Okay, we're going to learn together. So the biggest thing about Socratic Seminars is that we need to respect each other. Voices should be off right now. Thank you. We need to respect each other. Not everyone is going to feel the exact same way about every point. Not here in this classroom, not out in the world either, right? So it's important that we, one, listen to each other, and two, value another perspective. There are no right answers, so don't think of this in terms of a test or like a hardcore exam where you need to be precise about what you are saying. Articulate your points, definitely get to the meat and potatoes of what you're trying to say, but don't worry about being correct. We're here to exchange information, here to exchange ideas, and participation is required. So if you are sitting at this table, I expect to hear from each and every one of you in the next 40 minutes, 30 minutes if we can manage it. That's going to mean a lot of like rapid discussion, talking to each other quickly, getting our points across. We won't have a whole lot of time to get distracted. So if I notice that, then I'll step in. But otherwise, I'm mostly going to be an observer. I'll be here in the middle with you guys. But for the most part, this is going to be your time to discuss what we've seen and link it to the present. Because we've been talking about social conflicts, I feel like that's something that happens quite a bit in human history, right? We can link it to current events as well if we so choose. This is not a time or place to get political or particularly opinionated, but at the same time, it is key that we learn from our histories lest we repeat them. So just to reiterate, we will be respectful, we will be open with one another, and curious. We will also engage with new views as best as we may, so that we might learn from this experience and go forward seeing a new perspective. And we will also try to link the past to the present. This is also extremely bright, and I didn't expect it to be. But that is sort of where things are going. We will start with our discussion questions. Hopefully we all came ready to discuss those. We will discuss an alternate towards the end. I'll publish it in Canvas, but ultimately I expect to hear from everyone. So with that, Nathaniel, could you read our first discussion question if you have that in front of you? Does anybody have that in front of them, actually? Jacob, could you read our first discussion question? Get us started.
How do the close confines of the Five Points neighborhood affect the social interactions between the residents? Are these interactions mostly positive or negative, and why?
Okay. So in your own words, briefly respond to that for us. One thing, we do not have to raise hands during a Socratic seminar either. We want to try not to interrupt each other, but it's just sort of a freewheeling discussion.
It created tension with the residents because they were different people from different places. They didn't get along.
also caused a lot of very interesting
which I feel like caused a lot of violence. I feel like that's what happens today. Like if you're in a close confined area with a bunch of different views on different topics, I feel like that can trigger a lot of people, whether it's physical.
Absolutely, right? So as populations get denser, especially in a city like New York, one of the most populated in the world, while it's being built, not only is there going to be groups that come into power and disagree with how to lead, but maybe they just see different visions of the future.
We're working on the question one, right?
Yeah, we're reflecting on one, and these discussion questions are just sort of guide points. So if we feel things stalling, we can happily introduce another one. If you guys are really just itching to respond to one, we can do that too. There's a less form and structure here than maybe some of us are anticipating, right? We're basically just talking to each other. Great big round table.
For question one, what I was kind of thinking was very similar, was just like the fact that it's so close together, but there are so many different kinds of cultures from different like people and groups and stuff in that area, that it kind of creates like conflict between the groups, and like there were like a whole bunch of different kinds of gangs and stuff in that like tiny little area, and obviously that's gonna cause like kind of like power strife, because they want to be the ruler of that little area, I feel like.
Yeah, talk about rulers. Bill Cutting, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was described as a warlord at one point. I thought that was a pretty apt description. He certainly strutted about like one.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the way that I guess you would say quote unquote politics worked back then is very similar how they worked today, but like not as violent, and it's not like as power hungry, but it's like people get really heated like about politics.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. So I feel like that's one thing that hasn't really changed from the past.
Yeah, can certainly agree with that. We've watched that play out most of our lives, right? Strong opinions, people get in conflicts, maybe members of our own family that we can't talk to about certain things, or we can, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Certainly happened to me. I do want to talk about the draft riots and the Conscription Act. What was our understanding of the Conscription Act?
What was the Conscription Act?
The Conscription Act was a law put into place by Congress that authorized the first ever draft. The Civil War going on, right? They needed more troops. How do they do so? America has always boasted having a volunteer-only army, except in the cases when drafts go into place. So this was the first time that ever happened.
I just feel like everybody should have their own choice, no matter what. If you don't want to be in the military, you really shouldn't. You don't have to. But back then, it was required just because there was draft. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing right now at all, because I know if I get drafted, I'm not going.
I can understand that point of view, absolutely. During the Vietnam War, for example, there are a number of people who fled the country rather than being drafted.
Right, because got nothing to do with me. I'm not from here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, adding on to that was even the Irish, when they got off the boat, they were just immediately like drafted to war.
Right
just
away, right?
Literally, like what Bobby said, not from here. They're not from here. And they showed like a couple different scenes of just like immediately like having someone hand you a paper to sign up for the military right after you sign up to be a citizen.
Yeah.
And something about that I don't get about the riots is like, we're angry at the government, time to kill minorities. Like I don't get the connection between that. Like I'm mad at the government, I'm gonna go and murder immigrants. It doesn't make sense to me.
Wasn't part of the whole government thing is that that political leader at the time, I could be wrong about this, but weren't they
Lincoln?
trying? Yeah, was Lincoln the president
Yes,
at that
because
point?
they talk about how you abolish slavery, and that's why.
Yeah, so that could be why. It's because the government was trying to do stuff to help immigrants.
They associate them with it, so they're like, oh, you're in
yeah.
this.
So
It's
they
your fault then.
associate like
Yeah.
minorities with the governments instead of okay. That makes
There was
sense.
also this thing with the drafts where people would see someone that looked wealthy and they would assume that they got bought out of the draft, and then they would get angry at that person because they were more fortunate than them.
The term $300 man was
Yeah.
used.
Yeah, we heard that in the movie.
That was a pretty well-used term during the time where you had purchased your way out of the draft and looked well-to-do, what have you, and those individuals would be prone to assault. And as far as why so many people of color in particular were attacked in the North, oftentimes we associate the North with abolition, right? With the Union Army, with the will to get rid of slavery in this country. But where in the world does anybody agree on everything completely?
Cults.
Absolutely nowhere. Cults. Sure. But absolutely nowhere for the most part. And that sentiment certainly existed in New York, especially among the wealthy elite, those who did or did not hold power. Speaking of power, the role of institutions, such as various religious groups, political groups, such as Tammany Hall as a political machine. How did those sort of influence what we were seeing and how cities grow in general?
Could you say that again? Huh? Sorry.
How do institutions affect growth in cities?
Institutions, as in groups?
Right. They could. Well, groups. Yeah, that's an excellent way to tie it. So, for the Dead Rabbits, for example, are pretty heavily iconized or put next to the Catholic Church, whereas natives are put more in a Protestant light. That would be a religious institution, or examples of them. Governmental institutions like Tammany Hall, controlling how laws are made, how they're carried out. Governmental institutions include courts as well, Congress, the presidency. Institutions are essentially anything that has been built up to not seem invincible or invulnerable, but as a driving force behind how things grow.
Yeah, I feel like, or one thing I noticed in the movie is that like, the gangs and stuff like that, they all had like different like values and stuff like that, but they're all still like very like Christian at the same time, or at least like the natives and the Dead Rabbits from what I've seen.
I'm pretty sure with the Irish, they're Catholic, right? But it's still under like the same God.
Yeah.
So they're all under the same God, just different.
Yeah, because there was towards the end of the movie when they were all preparing to like fight.
They were all praying.
They were all praying, but they were saying very different things about how they viewed the Lord or that whatever.
Because Bill saw the Lord as like very what was the name of the people in that one book? Protestant, the witches, Salem witch trials.
Oh,
Protestants was what they called?
Puritans?
Puritan
perhaps?
evangelical.
Puritan influence?
Yeah, Christians. Like, he was very that where it's like it's a God-fearing man who will rain down like hell on you.
Yeah, because they're and
then
what's his name?
Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam. He was.
His was more protective, and not
yeah,
outward.
and like how he will, how they will help him defeat his enemies or whatever. I remember him saying. And there was another group that was saying that that God is like merciful.
That was
thing. That was I don't remember who it was.
I don't know what
It
they
was like
Pope
it was like a
or
family.
priest. I don't know.
Oh, the fellow wearing all black for the most part
Yeah.
and red. That was the Archbishop of New York.
So like, Bill was like offensive, Amsterdam was like defensive, and then the other one was like neutral, basically.
Yeah, I feel like how that affected like the plot of the movie is like you're able to believe in the same thing but still have like very different views on it, and that can create conflict and stuff like that.
Yeah, like when at least with Christianity, when it was originally splitting off into different little sections of Christianity.
It was like
the way that it divided caused a lot of conflict between those groups.
And I feel like it still does.
Yes.
Yeah, it
A
does.
lot. Like, especially with Christianity, because every other religion is like, that's cool, you do you, but like with Christianity, it's like, you don't believe in the same way I believe, you're wrong.
Well, so it's important not to single out any one religion, right?
Yeah.
There's different editions of
Because
things.
and that's only certain few people from Christianity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are understanding and stuff,
Yeah,
you know, just like the other religions.
Yeah. Every belief set you can think of, from religion to political beliefs, has its extremes.
Yeah.
And that will always be found, and always can lead to violence, can lead to great eras of peace, or not so much.
I also believe that, like, it's the same way it is today, that, like, only the extremes really get publicized.
With every community.
But I do agree that there is still that conflict in both, like, from back then and now. I mean, even like my family, part is Catholic, part is Christian, and they get in arguments a lot, I will say, like, and but it's still just like something that, like, that's another thing that kind of divides the two groups as well, is the fact that there are different beliefs in both, like, religions. Even though they are similar in ways, there are, like, different things, like, different groups.
But I feel like they just believe in what they know. So, like, if you think about it, some people go by what the Bible says, and some other people don't. Some people try to open up and, like, see different people and kind of, like, accept everybody. Some people just don't. And I feel like we just, quote unquote, have to live with it. Nowadays, like, I can't do nothing to change the way that my mom thinks of stuff. Nobody can do nothing to change the way that I see stuff. And I feel like that was a big issue back then, because I feel like somebody wanted to do change, they could have started with slavery. Because I didn't see it being mentioned after everybody, like, separated themselves from, like, you have this one, you have this one, you have this one. I didn't see nobody talking about, like, oh, let's bring the slaves in or something like that. Let's stop it, or let's stop it in our side of the whatever, yada, yada, yada. I didn't never see that. That's something I was looking for, and that's why I said yesterday that I thought it was going to end different, and everybody was going to try to get along and just live as one, but it didn't. Because I feel like everybody is self-centered and selfish.
Yeah.
Which I think that was done in the movie just to be more accurate to how life just was then, and even still now, because a lot of the times conflicts don't resolve and people don't just want to get along, which sucks, but I think that's why the movie chose to end it like that, because it makes it more real.
And I think another thing was that, like, during the whole thing, you think that the whole entirety of New York revolves around the conflict between the natives and the Irish, when in reality there's, like, literally a whole thing with the draft and war happening outside.
The Civil War happened.
Yeah, the Civil War's in the middle of it all, but it's like, no. This is all about the 5 points and making Seed get revenge on his father.
I feel like that also kind of just shows you how, like, little they thought back then. Was just like, they were just like, oh, you disrespected me, now it's time for us to go to war, when there's actually a way bigger problem happening at the same time. It focused on this, like, smaller battle between these two, while in the, like, end scene battle, there was, like, actual bigger battle going on.
Yeah, and it seemed like neither of the groups, the natives and the dead rabbits, neither of them actually seemed to realize until it was happening and the cannons were being launched.
Yeah,
that
like
was happening.
They like very shell-shocked about it.
Yeah, like they didn't expect that to happen, or that, like, they didn't know it was happening.
And that was one thing I want to mention too. The very, very, very last scene. I want to hear from the edges of the table as well. Y'all are real quiet over there. But the very, very last scene, right? We are watching New York be built up. And we have the graves of Priest Vallon and Bill Cutting right next to each other. We watch this graveyard be unkempt over time, sort of fades. It doesn't become this gigantic public place of observation or anything like that. What is that trying to tell us?
The world doesn't revolve around them.
Yeah, and how small the conflict truly was.
It was all really petty.
Okay. And so going forward, which of those 4 primary factors that were on your graphic organizers, or an additional that you might have found today while we were mapping sub-factors, which do you feel really contributed the most to that central conflict between the dead rabbits and the natives? Violence. Okay.
I think politics, because I think a lot of the different things led into violence, but I don't think violence was the main pusher of all the other things.
Yeah, the differences in belief really led to the violence, which I don't think violence wasn't like a problem. Why there was conflict, but I feel like more of their difference in beliefs and values and stuff like that. And be like, this is our land. And be like, caused a lot of issues.
Because the only reason it was violent was because they were violent. Because like how we just said earlier, it was very like small-minded and how it just only talked about them. I'm pretty sure while they were doing all that, everything else was like pretty all right.
Yeah.
I think you're right in the sense that the viewpoints were what caused the conflict for them to fight for 5 points in the first place. But after Priest Valen died, I think it was more of a driving force of violence because he wanted to get revenge, which turned into more death, more killing, more violence, and all of that. And that was like his whole motivation was just to avenge his father. So I think violence was the main driving point.
Becoming a bit of a vicious circle, right?
Yeah.
Violence simply begetting more violence for the sake of itself.
Yeah, it's not for like the 5 points because honestly, the only reason he came back was just to kill Bill Cutting. If he did that way earlier, he probably would have just been fine.
We wouldn't have had much of a movie, would we?
Yeah.
I do want to say, like you say, you guys talk about the different like beliefs and stuff, but wouldn't that also kind of tie into like the different groups? Because different religious groups, different like cultural groups and stuff, I feel like that also ties in more with groups than it would like politics.
Yeah. Because then the groups end up having different opinions, both in like how both in terms of the law and the economy, which then led into violence, meaning that groups would be like the basis of that.
Excellent.
I feel like no one factor kind of overpowers the other. I feel like they're all pretty balanced because politics leads to violence, and since Bill took over, that violence led to lack of like job opportunities for immigrants and stuff like that. At least in that specific area, which I also feel created a lot of groups, which also led back to politics, and it's just a circle.
Was Bill Cutting a political figure?
Yes. He was. Not too many of these characters are based on real folks. Bill Cutting did exist, but probably not in these exact same kinds of dramatization. Right, we don't know what they said per se. We know Tammany Hall for sure existed. William Tweed absolutely did.
Yeah,
Horace
but I'm asking,
Greeley.
like, was he like?
Yeah, in the movie, I'm
was
pretty sure
he
was.
part of the government, and if so, how?
Like
Well, he has that conversation with Tweed, right, where they're discussing how things should go forward, and he refers to himself as a muscler, I believe it was, sort of enforcing the political agenda. He's discussing the police, right? How the police need to go out and enforce what Tammany Hall desires. And Tweed makes the remark that the appearance of the law must be upheld, especially when it's being broken. So that was one of my favorite lines from the movie because it illustrates not only the corruption of political machines at the time, but political institutions' willingness to use brute force, to go outside the law, especially at a time, like we have so much information at our fingertips, right? Something like that goes on in a city council meeting today, it is already on X by the end of the afternoon. Like it's done for, it's already on Facebook, it is spread live. If we know about it instantly. When information traveled slower, it was much easier for corruption to reign, and even now, it still is possible.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of feels like when later on, I don't know what exact time period, but it kind of reminds me of when the government paid off the mafia to keep like the shores safe around America.
World War II.
And I was wondering, like, it doesn't happen too far into the future. Like, there's still problems with that.
a fascinating example.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them in most countries you can think of where, especially during wartime, considerations have to be made in order to shore up your own shores. For example, especially when your entire military is thousands of miles away. For instance, moving forward, thank you very much. I wanted to do at least one link to the present, and that is an excellent segue. So just really quick, social conflicts where we come from specifically. If we're from here, for example, are there any we can think of? If we aren't from here, are there any that we can think of?
Well, there's that
Yes,
way you
modern
talked
times,
about
yeah.
with your family,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Christian
I
Catholic.
guess I did talk about like how the
Religious
conflicts
groups.
now are still like similar back then, just not as violent, just more like verbal.
Really intense arguments, absolutely, and that is conflict. Conflict does not always have to be some violent affair, for sure.
Yeah. I used to live in Illinois, and when I lived there, I went to like a predominantly white school. So, like, if there was like any introduction, I guess, of like anyone of color, I feel like they got really like discriminated on because they were different. Like everyone was the same. You had to be the same, and the fact that their skin tone was different, they're different. Shame, like. I feel like that really connects with the movie because if you're different at all, you're gonna get looked down upon by anybody and everybody that doesn't agree with you.
Yeah. That's an excellent observation. It's something we see way too much.
I also, when I first got here, I didn't came like through like the back, how people would say it. I wasn't like, I didn't like came into like the, I didn't have to like jump the border or anything like that. But I know a couple people that did have to do that, and just the way that they got separated, and some of them, like, I have a friend that her dad got put into the military, and they told him that he had to serve, I think it was like 7 years in the military, and then they're gonna give him his citizenship, or his green card, or one of them, and then they took her sisters and brothers from them, and she went back to Mexico. Like, they deported her back to Mexico, and she hadn't seen her sister since like 3 years ago. So I feel like that has something to do when the Irish came to New York and they were signing them up for the draft. But I feel like right now it's worse because they're separating families and putting kids here and putting people here, so on and so forth.
It's an excellent example. Thank you. Is there anything else we can think of from where we're from? Maybe things we heard about when we were kids, and where our parents are from?
There was a thing last year, because I'm in drama club, and there was a lot of, I don't know how many you guys have heard, may have heard about the conflicts that happened in drama last year. No?
Drama was dramatic?
Yes.
Shocking.
Yes, it was really bad.
Almost dramatic. It's
yes.
almost as if it's in the name.
Yeah. But and I'm not going to go too into detail with it.
Very valid though. It's a group.
There was a lot of different like feelings on the different members of the group, which caused a lot of conflict, and everybody was left hurt, which sucked. But yeah, it was a major conflict, at least in my life.
As a drama kid myself, I can empathize. It gets weird. Any group you hang out with for a long time, right? Be it a sports team, be it even your closest friends you've known since elementary school, what have you. People you've known since you first got here to the state, to the country, what have you. Eventually, if you spend enough time with people, you get to learn where your disagreements lie. And sometimes that can blow up. Sometimes it can get really ugly.
Is that why the play from last year was like rescheduled or canceled?
It wasn't canceled, but there was a lot of issues in terms of running it, and
I know one person like left, and they're like the main character. Yeah,
Arvin.
Spicy. Really quick, we're just about done here, and I wanted to do the discussion questions that we created. And this time, I specifically do not want to hear from the middle of the table. You're all excellent, but I've heard from mostly you this entire time. So from the ends of the table, one of the discussion questions you created yourselves. Let's go one from this end, one from this end. Let's go over here first.
What do you mean the discussion questions like this?
So we were looking over the discussion questions for the movie and for modern times, but I also asked that we create two and answer them ourselves. So Hopefully we saw that portion of the assignment or remembered me telling you. Ezra, how'd it go?
I just said, like, what was, like, something you related to, or you seen anything that was similar to what you experienced in life?
Okay. Relating to our own experiences? Excellent. How about down here? One discussion question that we created ourselves. You can volunteer or be voluntold. Up to you. What you got, James?
I said, how did the abolishment of slavery affect the social conflicts in the field?
Okay. Excellent. Very good. One last thing. So, first of all, great job for this entire unit, entire lesson set. I'm really proud of you guys. I hope that we're able to do more of these, especially these discussions. I would have loved to hear from more of you. So if you did not participate in the discussion today, and I mean didn't say a single thing, there is an alternative discussion post online in Canvas that is labeled Gangs of New York Alternate Discussion. If you did not participate today, I expect that you will answer 2 of these from the group discussion questions, as well as create 2 of your own and respond to them. Additionally, you'll need to wait a day or so, but I want 1 response to someone else's post. So if we didn't speak at all today, what do I expect of you? Putting you on the spot. Anybody down there who did not speak? Specifically, anybody? Not specific. Mm-hmm. Yes, and what goes on inside the alternate discussion?
You need to respond to 2 of the questions and make your own and then respond.
Excellent. Yeah, exactly. Do we hear that down there too? If we didn't speak today? And again, no worries if we didn't. I understand it's not always super comfortable to hop into a discussion when we don't all know each other. But hopefully, as a trimester goes along, we get to know each other better, and we can feel a little bit more comfortable, and maybe even disagree. It's okay to argue. It really is. As long as things stay civil and we understand each other and try to understand new perspectives, this can be really beneficial. So, for the end of class here, if we can try and rearrange our tables. Good job, everybody. Thank you very much.
Where do we put these?
We will put those
And if we do put our names on
on a
them?
whiteboard. If you'd like to, absolutely.
Cool, I will.
I was the best in the discussion. Not really.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries, I already did it.
Certainly one of the most active.
Well,
Not a bad thing.
in my first period.
Oh, do you?
So me and her practice. Oh, you're right.
Wait, what happens again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Whiteboard.
On one of the whiteboards.
Okay.
But first things first, we are putting the room back together. So I need your help doing so. Those will go there. Sure.
It depends on our whole grade.
Okay. And which class is that?
Maybe language.
Lang, got it. Yeah. That'll do it. So, yeah. So you have to hold each other accountable a little bit. Yeah. I like that. Okay. So we have a chair issue. Yeah, good. It's so pretty.
It is.
Okay. What do we have here? Good, good. Is that closer, you think? Yeah. Right. You have the most experience with this classroom, so. So you will hold on to that, and then I'll probably collect tomorrow.
Are we turning both these?
So you'll hold on to your graphic organizers. Really quick on me, folks. Count of 3. Eyes on me on 3. Everybody. Eyes on me. Please and thank you. I know I'm in the middle, but you will hold on to your graphic organizers tonight. I want them tomorrow filled out. What do I want tomorrow? Asking this. That too. You want your yellow paper? as well as your graphic organizer completely filled out. Completely and entirely.
Yeah, the reason why I didn't discuss I was gone Friday and Monday.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
why.
no worries whatsoever.
I missed a lot.
I understand completely. And there's a lot to that movie too. It's almost 3 hours. So missing a section in the middle, that hurts. So no worries. That alternate discussion is online, and that's where they get to voice some